Eugene, it's been a wee while. Since we last spoke, you were heading off to London last time. Since then, 3 fighters representing the gym. BJ Bland was really disappointing, what happened, because he did work so hard to get there.
Yeah, bit of a tumultuous kind of a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I guess, for the boys. Ups and downs, smiles and frowns. But yeah, BJ. I can't say anything about BJ. Like, BJ just got caught, and in the sport that happens. I can't even put too much fault with what he did, to be honest. Like, he just got caught by a really good punch. Like, give the guy the full credit that the guy's due. I felt BJ was looking very good in the early stages of that fight and executing what we had talked about, like, really well. And the guy just caught him. The guy just threw a beautiful, well-timed shot, well placed. BJ didn't even really, there's nothing at fault. Like, BJ had everything in his body in the right position, and had his hands and his arms in the right position, like everything, that guy needed to throw the perfect shot to get through BJ's defense at that time, and he did, and that's all she wrote. So very disappointed, obviously, for BJ, and the team's disappointed because we know how hard he's worked over his career to get to that point. And hopefully that's not the, hopefully the curtain hasn't fallen on BJ's opportunities. Hopefully he can get another shot in the near future, and we can get him back on the train. But we're all disappointed, and we're just rallying behind BJ and getting him back to where he needs to be.
And then, of course, it was to London, and your first trip there, and it's not memorable for the right reasons.
Yeah, and then we had the London trip, and it was great. Like, I felt fight week was great. Like, Dan was good, and the small little team we had over there with Silk, myself, and Tristram, we were doing really well together, and just fulfilling all the different duties that we need to do, and getting around the fighter during fight week. I thought we did a great job of that, and yeah, it's just just like what can you say, man? When you lose a fight, I don't know. Like, I try to talk about the losses, because I think it's like one thing to talk about the wins, and then when you lose, to just shut up shop and not talk about them. So I try and, like, put on a brave public face when it comes to the losses, just as much as I do when it comes to the wins. But yeah, I think things didn't go our way again. Like, another world-class opponent. And just disappointed. I feel Dan will be a little disappointed with that performance, obviously, but I still think that Dan won't be satisfied with losing in that manner, particularly in light of what happened in the fight, what small things managed to happen in the fight. Not much of the fight had gone past, but there were some things there that Dan could have done differently, in that short amount of space that the fight went for, that he'll be disappointed in. So,
did you have an idea or preconceived idea of how good Arnold Allen was, and has your opinion of him changed after what you saw?
No, I already knew he was a very good fighter. The only thing that really perplexed me about Arnold Allen was why he had been in the UFC for so long, and why he wasn't a much bigger name and wasn't more prominent in the roster. And yeah, I hadn't really heard much about Arnold Allen. That's the only thing that surprised me really, because he's been in the UFC for so long and he's such a good fighter. And I still don't really know the answer to that, other than he might have suffered a lot of injuries and stuff and hasn't been able to fight as much as other people. But look, now people know who he is. Unfortunately, it's off the back of one of my guys, but yeah, nothing. He was, you know, he's what I expect of a fighter of his caliber and his attitude. He is a gentleman, and I wish him nothing but the best. And he got a great team, and I wish him nothing but the best as well. So I hope he goes on to, you know, to represent himself, his family, and his country well. And yeah, I mean, I hope he goes all the way, but not all the way, because obviously I have one of my students who's holding on to that belt and is going to hold on to that belt for a very long time.
Tell us a little bit about Dan. Is he home? Is he back training? Has he got something lined up, or is he going to have a spell? What's the...
Yeah, no, Dan, so Dan, after the Makachev fight, Dan, the UFC flew Dan's family over to America, and then Dan's wife and daughter flew from there, from America, straight to the grandparents in Australia, and Dan flew to New Zealand to do the fight camp. So do this eight-week fight camp plus fight week. So he never seen his family for like 2 months, or over 2 months. So straight after London, Dan flew straight to Australia and reunited with his family, which is exactly what he needed. Just some time off, and some time around the people that are important to you, so you can reflect and get your head in the right space. And I think he might still be there, so when he's ready, he'll get back to the gym, and then we'll reassess where to go to from here. Yeah.
Well, I know it probably didn't make up for all the downs, but Kai winning was just such a high.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also had young Lawrence Louis, who won the Shuriken featherweight title or bantamweight title, and I had Cameron. So that, like, they fought later on, or earlier or later on after Dan, and they kind of like picked the mood up a little better, so that was good. But then on the flip side of that, I also had another guy, a student of mine who comes over and trains, Ben Johnston, who lost his debut in Australia. So it was a real weekend. So it was a real roller coaster of a weekend. Guys like winning and losing in devastating fashion, and then winning and then winning titles, and then but last but not least, yeah, Kai, yeah, like you know, couldn't be more happier for a guy to be rewarded for a lifetime of work culminating in that win, and hopefully fingers crossed he's done enough to get himself a title shot, and then obviously from there we fight for the title, and then be the New Zealand's like second champion, UFC champion. Wouldn't that be amazing? But that's our goal.
Was there anything in that Kai's fight that especially pleasing? I'm guessing that the 2 times Russian champion and undefeated fighter who had his way in round number 1 got all the opportunities in round number 1 and couldn't do the job.
Yeah, I mean, that part's pleasing. I mean, you know, like, the plan's not to give up your back. And that was my implicit instructions before the fight, and then he gave up his back. I know Kai's got very good back defense, but it's not something you want to test in an actual match. Nevertheless, you always practice it. You always put yourself in the worst case scenario in training, so you're very good at dealing with it in case you do happen to get in those positions in a fight. So, yeah, I mean, like Kai said, like the guy had his best opportunities to finish Kai and was in his best positions, and he couldn't finish Kai. So that gave Kai kind of a renewed confidence that, hey, you know, like I've given this guy has basically had his best positions on me, and he still can't finish me. Now it's my turn to kind of take over and start taking this fight, you know, taking the bull by the horns and getting control of this fight. So, Kai reacted perfectly to the adversity, and then on top of that he put some icing on the cake by coming on strong and dominating the stand-up. So, yeah, very happy with the fight.
Last time we were on, you talked a little bit about reading, I think it was Robert Whittaker's team. Could you tell after round number one, could you get any vibes from the camp? Did you think that they were starting to worry when they couldn't finish, or do you think that they thought they were a little bit in a good posse?
Yeah, I don't know. The Russians are they're a bit harder to read, because I find that, like, I do like to look over at the corner and try and read the body language and read what's going on. They're a bit harder to read because a lot of the time the Russian corners, they're just yelling in an absolute panic. So if that's the normal state that all the Russian corner is in, sometimes it's hard to differentiate that's just how they corner. They just yell at the top of their voice. So. And I can't understand it as well, so that's kind of hard for me to pick up a signal. But I mean, look at man, he had an amazing corner. He had an amazing corner who led him to 17 undefeated fights. In his corner was the young fighter, the only fighter to ever beat Peter Yan. Peter Yan has only lost once. Well, that fighter was in his corner, and so that's the quality of the fighter. And as far as I know, he's a very good coach. So he had a great corner, but you know, like on that particular day, on that particular night, he just wasn't good enough.
Well, we move on to. I'm lucky to catch you because you're in the country, then you're out and you're away again tomorrow night. And this time a big assignment with Volk.
Yeah, I'm just going over there to just fulfill my role with Volk, and it's been I did manage to get over there, which was cool, to get over there with Joe and Volk for a couple of weeks, which is really cool, and it's going to make my job a bit easier. And all my role is there is just to support Joe and offer, whatever opinion, just give myself to the team. And it's more, when I come in corner of fights and help Joe and Volk out, it's more obviously the intellectual side. We already have our training partners and stuff. There's not much I can offer there, but it's just to help Joe make decisions in the corner, and a couple of like key things, the strategy and stuff that I work with Joe, and yeah, it's just like an advisory role, to be honest. And and I take it very seriously. It's an important job, and I am very honoured that they asked me to come over and help them corner, especially seeing as though we can't travel to each other's gyms. Like normally, I'm sure Volk would like to come to CKB for a few weeks, and Joe normally comes over for a few weeks and they work a few things with the boys, but nevertheless, I've still got a job to do, so, and the job is to keep that title over here in Australasia, and that's what we intend to do.
And Brad, he's over there because Brad and Volk, they've trained together for so many years, and of course that's been out the window, but they're back together.
Yeah, like obviously we can travel now, so I think Brad headed over there like a week ago just to do the last part of Volk's camp, which I'm very pleased about. I think when you have another world-class fighter in your camp of Brad's calibre, who's also a very smart fighter, I think that that can bring a lot of value to your camp, even if it's the last couple of weeks and fight week. A lot of value, and so I'm very happy that Volk and Brad were able to organise that amongst themselves. And that's all it is, man. It's just stacking as many things in Volk's favour as I can, you know, getting as many people to a point involved that bring value and help Volk win, because that's all it's about. You got to get rid of all the bullshit, and you got to put things in place, and everything like funnels in towards that win. And so I'm glad that that choice has been made to have Brad over there, because I think it's an important one.
Just quickly, anybody else on the radar? Anybody got a fight coming up that we haven't heard about?
Nah, we're in a bit of a holding pattern, to be honest. Like the UFC guys are in a little bit of a holding pattern. Like we're just like in the midst of negotiating all the next set of fights. So I got nothing to really report on that end. Yeah, I mean, there's some of the local boys are going. I'm like Tarlaw, who's a very good amateur, was a very good amateur, now a new pro, is fighting. I'm Matt Tover's show. I've got another student, Morgan, who's fighting. Nikura, Lee Kingi, who's won King of the Ring. He's going to have his MMA debut on Matt Tover's show. So we're just excited to get behind those boys, and it's good. It's good to put all our efforts into those boys, because those guys put a lot of efforts in the other way sometimes. So yeah, nothing really to report except the local scene going hard, going strong.
I'll ask you again, no new UFC contract?
In the works, Tony, in the works. Nothing to report yet, nothing to report back, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Okay, mate. Hey, we'll see you when you get back. Eh?
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Tony.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks for the great outdoor setting we've got.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. No, cheers.